Hello and welcome to the Kivley IT podcast, episode 95. How you doing, Carl?
I'm all right. I'm good.
I'm doing fine. What have you been up to?
I have been driving my EV.
You have? You drove it all the way to Leominster?
Yeah, I went to see a customer because we haven't been out for a long time. I went to see one of our clients at Indigo Green Accountants.
How far was that in your EV?
50 mile each way, about that.
How much percentage of your battery did you use up?
I started with about 193 miles in the range and I got back with about 67. So,
are you still charging it for free at Tesco's? Have you got your home charger now?
Yeah, and I'm noticing I'm getting less range because it's getting colder, you see.
Oh, yeah, because my car's got a heat pump, yours hasn't, so the heat pump conditions the battery.
Yes, it wasn't an optional extra on the C4. There is no heat pump, so I have to suck it up when it gets cold and get less distance. But I'm still getting free from Tesco, but my charger is being installed 19th this week.
As you heard, I've given a clue there that my Polestar 2 finally got delivered last Tuesday. Yeah, I very much enjoy it. The speed is very nice. However, it's got to go off to Volvo straight away, Carl, because so the original problem why it got delayed for a month was because they had a faulty key. It came with the car, so they can actually deliver it to me. So they got a replacement key, but they forgot to deregister the faulty key from the car, which now makes it not possible to link the mobile key, the one that's on your mobile phone, to the car.
Yeah.
Because to do it, it has to scan, it has to have all the keys have to be inside the car as it's scanning to link it up. So it's looking for 3 keys, but I've only got 2 keys. Therefore, it can't connect it. So I've had to get it over to, have to give it to Volvo, who are the guys who do the servicing for Polestars and all that kind of stuff. But that was a bit of a hassle as well. So Volvo in Birmingham, I rang up twice over a 2-day period, and they never called back. I promised that someone with service desk would call back, and they never did, which made me think, okay, they're probably not interested in doing Polestars. They just want to do their Volvos. They don't really want to do Polestars. They're just something they've been dragged into. So I then rang up Volvo in Stourbridge and got through to them straight away, and they're more than happy to help. So it's all booked in at Stourbridge.
Right.
About half an hour before we started this podcast, last night I put a 1-star review on Volvo Birmingham for just simply not returning calls, and clearly they weren't interested. And last night I had a reply from a guy called Ollie Rigby, who's it's called Paul Rigby, the dealership is. So I guess he's one of the Rigby family that runs this dealership. And he put a message on there saying sorry about that, and to give him an email directly, and he'll get it sorted. I didn't email him, but half an hour before this podcast, Paul Rigby in Birmingham Volvo, they rang up and apologised, and apparently they had a system problem. So that's what I was thinking. Your reaction, exactly what I thought. They had a system problem where it wasn't telling them they'd had 2 calls from me that they needed to return.
Yeah, that system being a person.
Yeah, basically. We don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because I said, it felt like to me you guys weren't interested in doing Polestar, so I went elsewhere to Stourbridge. But it turns out the Stourbridge branch is also part of the Paul Rigby thing as well. So the Stourbridge services system seems to work well. They call back.
Yeah, well, it's customer services for you, isn't it? So
yeah, it doesn't go in until the 5th of December anyway, because I think it's the 5th of December. In that I wanted a courtesy car, and they haven't got any available until then.
Okay, cool. I found out something interesting this week. You know that I have a Suzuki, a ICE car, so I'm getting rid of my old car, and I can buy it back at the end of my lease, and it'll be like $6,000 to buy the car. So I thought, I wonder how much I could sell my car for right now, because small cars are going. So I just used WeBuyAnyCar.com. You know, that's not going to give me the best price. $9,000.
Yeah. That's more. Is that more than you making money on that one?
Yes, I can buy it for $6,000 and sell it for $9,000. I figure I'm going to lose $1,000 in the mix because they're bound to pick on something and not give me the price that it says on the website. But I'm figuring I can probably get $2,000 out of this car.
That car was a lease that you could buy at the end of the lease, wasn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm going to do.
What would you say is your biggest disappointment on your EV?
In terms of my actual vehicle, not buying the automatic power trunk.
Okay.
You can put your foot under and it opens, or just the button and it power opens and power closes. I miss that because I often have my hands full of stuff, and it would be good to have that when I'm doing things like that. Overall, as an electric vehicle, generally, yes, you do have to think a little bit more about your range, because I've got your average family car, so I can get 150 miles. I need to charge up, so you do have to think about a journey a little bit more. Apart from that, there's no downsides.
wouldn't say it's a disappointment either, because you already knew that. You already knew that before you got it.
Yeah, it's not a disappointment. No, you're right. It's merely something you live with.
It's changing his driving style, basically.
I'm not disappointed in anything. I should have picked that extra, but hey, I wanted a car, and there's a chip shortage right now, and it's not easy to get one, so I couldn't get one with that extra in it. But that's the way it goes.
I'll say in mine, it's Android Automotive.
Oh no, you were really looking forward to that.
Well, it's there and it works. It's just there's nothing there. There's 25 apps in the App Store for Android Automotive, and I'd say 23 of them are junk.
Right.
so pretty much, it's got Pocket Casts in there, which is the podcasting app that I use.
Yeah.
But even that is much more basic on Android Automotive. Like the synchronization isn't as regular, as quick. So I might be listening to a podcast in the car, and I'll say I've got like 22 minutes into it, and I get out the car to go onto my phone, and it hasn't synced yet. So on the phone, it thinks, oh, you haven't started listening to this podcast. So it starts from the beginning rather than from where I left off at 22 minutes,
right.
And vice versa, the other way around. But Android Automotive feels a bit like Android Wear when it first came out. Just nothing happened with it. They launched it, and then not a lot happened, because it's got apps that you'd expect Google to have on there, like YouTube's not on there. It's like, well, why don't you put YouTube on there? So when I'm sitting around, because it was last Friday when I was waiting for my daughter who was doing ballet, so I had to wait in the car for an hour. There's no YouTube, no Netflix or anything on there. So I ended up having to watch it on my mobile. But it's just like, Google, come on, you own YouTube. You could easily make an Android Automotive version of YouTube. You've got to remember, listeners out there, Android Automotive and Android Auto are two separate things. So while you can get it on Android Auto, Android Automotive is actually the built-in real-time operating system that works in the car, unlike Android Auto, which is just casted onto the car on top of its built-in OS. But it's just like, I suspect many of the reasons is it's pretty much just Polestar that's got Android Automotive out at the moment. There are lots of other car companies coming out with it and having Android Automotive built in, but they're not there yet. And I suspect the Android Automotive team over at Google is tiny, really small, and there's just not much going into it. There are updates and new versions that come out. The Polestar version of Android Automotive, I think, is pretty vanilla, so it's very much how Google intended, but it doesn't have any material U design on it or anything like that at all. It's not bad. It works, and the apps work there. It's just the apps are just so the selection is small. The features on the apps are less than what you get on mobile. So even Google Maps is there. It gives you the traffic and all the stuff you need to get somewhere perfectly fine. It tells you how much battery you're going to have and all that. But is this the weird one? Whenever I put in an address, it never takes me. It takes me to the address. But so say for example, my house is number 7 on the road.
Yeah.
When I arrive, it will always say you've arrived at like number 9 or number 10. It's like, well, I actually specifically told you it was number 7 that I was going to, so I didn't just put 7 on the screen. It's just weird things like that it does a bit strange on Google Maps. But again, like there's only basic features in there like avoid toll roads, avoid ferries, and all that kind of stuff. I always turn avoid toll roads on. But it's good. Don't get me wrong on that. It's very good, and the way it works, it's just the selection's not there at the moment. It will get better over time.
You're a very early adopter of this.
Yeah. And that's why it reminds me of Android Wear, because I was a very early adopter when Android Wear came out. That was the first operating system for mobile phones, for Android watches.
Yeah.
They then rebranded it to Wear OS, and now they've rebranded it to, I think it's just Wear now, where they've teamed up with Samsung and Tizen to build it. But yeah, it just needs more users. The problem is because it's, as I said, I'm early adopter. The app developers aren't putting much effort into their apps to get them to run on there.
Yeah.
And then there's some weird app decisions by Google. So everyone, if you've got Google Assistant on your phone, you have the Google Podcast app on your phone, even though you haven't installed it, and you might not see the icon. But if you ask the assistant to play a podcast for you, then all of a sudden the icon will appear on your home screen and it's there. Oh. It's like this on the phones. It's like this in Android Auto. So rather than you go into the App Store and you search for podcasts, you'd expect the Google Podcast app to appear there as one of those that you can install, but it's not. Instead, you have to request the car to play a podcast. Then once you've done that for the first time, then all of a sudden the Google Podcast app is now an icon on your screen that you can touch, and it's not there otherwise. And if you didn't know that, you'd think, oh, there's only this Pocket Cast app that I can use, which happens to be the one that I use anyway. But and even the Google Podcast app on the car is a bit basic in that it doesn't it doesn't list stuff in a logical way. It's like it's got like for Pocket Cast, for example, it shows you all the podcasts you're subscribed to. But on my mobile phone, I have it sorted in the newest podcasts at the top. The latest episodes come at the top, and it filters down like that.
Yeah.
Can't do that in the Pocket Cast app on the car. You just basically go into Pocket Cast, and it just shows you the thumbnails of all of them. And you've got to navigate through to find the one you want to, rather than just having a list of the most recent ones at the top, which would make more sense. Likewise, it's the same with the Google Podcast app as well. It's even more basic than the Google Podcast app on your Android phone, feature-wise. It's just like it's clear that we need to get an app on here. We need to have it on here, and they've just put out the most basic ones possible at the moment.
Yeah.
But the actual inbuilt controls and stuff that Polestar's done on the car, that's nice.
Right.
Controlling all the features, controlling how you want to charge and all that kind of stuff. Their layer that they've stuck on top. Yeah. That's really well done. It's just the actual third-party apps that are lacking.
Yeah, I guess it'll be a while before they'll be any good.
Yeah, they just really need to get YouTube on there. Get YouTube on there, and get Netflix to stick theirs on there. Job done, basically.
Yeah,
because that's all you need.
I think there's something about putting those videos on there that they're not going to want to do because they don't want people to try and hack past being able to do it while it's driving.
That's not no, because they've already got video apps on there. But they're just junk ones. So they've got like BBC Ideas, which is like 5-minute kind of info commercials. But clearly, because it's BBC, it's not an advert. But it's just that type of style program that comes on. They have it there, and if you can't drive while the video's on, so there's no reason why they haven't got YouTube and they haven't got Netflix and stuff like that on there. Apart from they haven't done the deals.
Oh, okay. Right.
And Google just hasn't been bothered to do YouTube app. It's something they own to stick on Android Automotive.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it overall, and I'd enjoy it more if I didn't have to take it to Volvo to get the key registered.
Well, yeah, you just have to wait on that one.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice. There's some weird things as well on there. So like it's got the 360 camera on there.
Yeah.
When the 360 camera's turned on, it's just weird things that Polestar's done. So it puts a white Polestar on the screen, but my Polestar's black. It's like, why didn't you just have it so it matches the color of the car that the person's got on the screen as well?
I have a white Citroen on my 360 camera too, yeah. And sometimes I don't have any car because it doesn't quite do it right and I don't get any car. I
was thinking earlier that I thought maybe they do the white one for clarity. It's just, it stands out more than if you have a black car on that screen.
Yeah,
the 360 camera.
That would make a lot of sense, yeah.
So I'm thinking that's probably why they're doing it on that, because it's black on the other screen. The heads up, the dashboard, digital dash, the car on there is black like my car.
Right.
On the 360 camera, it's white, and because yours is white as well, I reckon it might be a clarity thing.
Yeah.
Just to see better where you are exactly when you're parking and doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I watched the NCAP videos for the Polestar 2 and the Citroen EC4 this morning.
They're good.
Yeah, both cars are pretty safe for adult occupancy and children occupancy. Your car is better, safer than my car, but that's not surprising.
So I'm less likely to die than you.
Yes. However, your car is really good at automatic braking, emergency braking compared to mine. Mine isn't very good.
Some people, I've had the
NCAP car.
I've had the emergency brake go off going forwards. It's normally where I've had it in its pilot mode, where it's driving itself. And then the car in front has either broke much quicker than it was expecting and stuff like that. And it'll start beeping and flashing and hand it back over to me to take control, basically. And if I'm not concentrating, then it's basically removing the responsibility from itself to me.
Yeah.
Quickly hands it back over. I've heard on the reverse braking, I haven't tried this out yet, but apparently the reverse auto brake is incredibly powerful in that people and very sensitive. So if you're going down a slight incline, it can fire. So there's actually a button to be able to turn that off, because it's, from what I've heard from people on YouTube who've used it, it's like it feels like you've driven into a brick wall. How it stops. It's just like complete stationary.
Okay.
On the reverse one, which I suppose that's not a problem because you're not going fast when you're reversing anyway to go to a complete stationary stop. But it probably yanks the car and stops it.
Yeah.
Might try that.
EV news.
Yeah, it could be a new section. EV news section. So recap of our new content. Unless you've got anything else you want to say.
No.
We've got I did the founders log for October 2021, Kyle.
Yeah.
And do you want to know the stats
yes,
for
please.
IT support? So 58 subscribers got in contact. 43 of those were requesting assistance, and 15 were asking for support where something isn't working as it should. Out of 65.5% of those subscribers sent a message to us and got a response back and back to work within 5 minutes. And the remainder took between 5 and 30 minutes to get them on the way again. 57 subscribers contacted us through our unique instant messaging service. One subscriber opted to log an old-fashioned email ticket, so they got a slower response than everyone else because instant messaging is the way to do it.
Yep.
And then overall, out of all the people that contacted it, got in contact with us, neither of them would not have needed to if the company had got regular training taking place.
Yes.
It's always lacking on training.
Yep. Yep.
The cheapest one we do as well is £250 training session, and those 9 people would definitely cost more than would definitely have spent more than £250 getting in contact and not being able to do what they were doing in the meantime.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I created a blog post about the new creating meeting notes in Google Calendar.
Yeah.
So when you create an event in Google Calendar now, you can add notes to it straight away, and it opens in the new Google Drive canvas layout. So it's already pre-populated with the title of the event, the attendees that were there, and then your bullet points and stuff like that. I have noticed one thing though that's a bit buggy with it. If you create a reoccurring event, it doesn't create new meeting notes for each recurring event. It just creates it once, and then that meeting notes is attached to all the recurring events, which isn't great because if you've got say for our example, we have Monday mapping, which is a weekly meeting, which is different each week. Well, then for that, we want to have separate notes each time it comes through, and you don't have to individually enter that event every Monday just to create it. So they need to put a little tick box there. Do you want to keep the same notes, or do you want to create new notes for each event, each recurring event? Because otherwise, there's a bit of something overlooked there that I need to sort out. But apart from that, it's quite a handy feature, and for taking minutes and stuff like that during the meeting.
Yeah.
Did a blog post on how to factory reset your Chromebook. We did this mainly because the Google support page, while it has the details in there, it tries to take you through a load of different steps beforehand. Yeah. It's not quite clear where you'll need to. So with a Chromebook, if it plays up, you just factory reset it because it takes 20 seconds to sign back in and all your stuff has reappeared. So we've just done a blog post that tells you exactly the important part of how to reset that Chromebook rather than doing a load of steps beforehand that you don't even need to bother with.
Yeah, that's right.
Do a reset. Yeah. And then the big one is your history of the Microsoft mouse. Go for it.
Yeah, I finished my history of the Microsoft mouse video explainer video. That's taken a little while to do. Mostly the difficult part of that was simply getting the images, because getting historical images of old IT hardware is quite hard. Staying within licensing, copyright requirements on images and stuff like that.
So this is a 7-minute video that you created, and it takes us from the history of the Microsoft mouse all the way through to where it is now, the Microsoft IntelliMouse.
Yes,
my favorite mouse of all time, and and it's an informational video with lots of stock images on there and detailed images and videos.
Yeah, that's it. We're doing some more explaining videos that either teach you about something you might not know about, or just tell you a story that might be interesting to you. If you like tech, or you've worked in and used computers in the office for a while, you might find some of the stuff interesting that we'll go over.
Yeah, it's part of our What Is series that we're calling these videos, because I've done one on 2-step verification and you've now done one on your Microsoft mouse.
Yes.
Microsoft mouse one's been quite successful on the channel. It's still #1 video after 3 days.
Oh, okay.
The trend is above the normal trends we have of videos, so people are watching it longer and there's more people on there. And it's also gained some subscribers for us.
That's good. Yeah, well, that's what we were hoping for, isn't it? We were hoping to create some content that was slightly different to what we normally do.
Yeah, and weirdly, interestingly, the traffic sources, 62.5% of that traffic sources for that video is coming externally, not from inside YouTube, and not from any end screens that we've got on videos. That's nice.
So it's coming from it. You say that's coming from in YouTube's recommendations or not?
It could be YouTube recommendations. It could be embedded videos somewhere. It could be links.
Right. Okay.
To it. It could even be search results.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's doing good, that videos. We'll do more than the only thing with those videos are they do take a lot longer to make than the Try Now videos.
They certainly do take a lot longer, yeah.
Research, building, and then the editing takes quite a bit of time as well.
It does, yeah, it definitely does.
get quicker each time we do it. So have a look at that video, the history of the Microsoft mouse.
You know what, Jane?
Like
I've just typed into Google history of the Microsoft mouse. You might type that, you might not, but it's obviously the title of the video. But we've come up as the #1 video above someone's previous YouTube video.
Is that in the YouTube search engine?
No, that's straight in Google under the video section.
What comes up for me then? And we'll have to wait while we look at this.
Yeah.
Show the Microsoft mouse. Yep, it's #1 there.
Yeah. Obviously, it's recent. That's
the last one was actually done by quite a famous YouTuber. It's the Linus from his Tech Quickie channel.
Yeah.
And he's got some other channels on YouTube as well. But yeah, you're now higher than him as well.
Yeah, he's got a history of the mouse. I did see a few people who've done that, and I didn't go into the actual overall history of the mouse. This is specifically
good point.
Microsoft one. Yeah. But yeah,
so, on to the news. The first one was came out about 2 weeks ago. This news article. It was about the Ford CEO praising Tesla in an internal meeting, and he was saying that no one does electric cars better, which is probably true when it comes down to the battery technology and stuff like that. And the interesting part was, though, that he said that the Model 3 is now the best-selling vehicle in Europe, not electric, but flat out. It is the best car over ICE engines as well, and it was the best-selling vehicle, and it is the best-selling vehicle in the UK over internal combustion and all other electric cars. The Tesla 3, which just confirms what we've been saying for ages, that electric is the way that everyone's going to go. It's now, well, we know it is because of government regulation too, but it's going there a lot quicker than people expected. And it's useful because we have a client who's a big V12 fan and stuff like that, and we constantly have debates with them. But they're softening their tones now towards electric. I've noticed they are definitely going, okay, yes, it looks like that's the way to go. Our main argument for it is actually excluding the government regulation. It's the fact that the cars are so much easier to maintain and manufacture because they only have around 12 parts in them, mechanical bits in them, and it's just going to naturally become cheaper.
It does. Whenever I've asked this question on LinkedIn to people over 40, so no, they just won't let go of the engine. They just they're going, no, it won't last, and they're like, batteries are really bad, they're worse for the environment. And I was digging through the stats and going, no, this isn't true. ICE cars equally contain rare earth metals as much. They're different rare earth metals, but there's as many rare earth metals in them. And once you go over 20,000 miles, the EV car just does not use emissions in anywhere near. So there's more emissions making the EV car than the ICE engine. But once you do 20,000 miles, the ICE thing is just polluting the world and the EV isn't. And so over the length of the vehicle, it's far superior. It just isn't slightly at the start. But now they're starting to discover, I sent an article to you, they're starting to discover cobalt and lithium and other rare earth metals in the bottom of the ocean outside of San Diego. There's this massive area of little mini rocks about that big just all over the ocean. And this company have gone, there's enough there for 1 billion EVs, they reckon, at the bottom. Yeah. They just got to get them out of the sea.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just natural, because it's just, even for you and I, why do I want to buy a car that whenever I have to take it serviced, I'm going to get like a £500 bill or whatever, when I can take an EV to get it serviced and it's like 70 quid, because there's literally nothing to service on it. So the overall ownership costs are much cheaper, ongoing overall cheap, and manufacturing. And naturally, as it scales up, and battery, and as we talked earlier, technology always gets cheaper. That's the way it's going to go.
Most people arguments were clearly personal. They didn't want to change. Yeah. I could tell. I had loads of people going, I'm going to buy a big petrol car in 2029. And I was thinking, you've got no chance. Do you think these people are going to be manufacturing a V8 in 2029? Do you think you'll be able to get one? You're crazy.
It's like what the Ford guy has said. He's basically said, there's no future for petrol cars, the Ford CEO. So much so that, remember the article a few weeks ago about the Porsche 911?
Yep.
And is that even going to exist in a few years' time? Because the whole point of the 911 is about having a normally aspirated engine in it. Well, that's just not going to be there anymore. Mainly, governments are going to make it illegal anyway, so you're not going to be able to sell it even if you do build it. I suspect a lot of those people that are arguing against it don't like the fact that it's become a regulation now that 2030 you can't get ICE engines anymore. don't like being told what to do by the government, which is fair enough. No one likes that. But removing that bit of illogical argument anyway, it just makes sense to have an EV car.
Yeah, it does. And there's a lot of naysayers who don't want it, but this is the CEO of Ford, so it's going that way, and that's the end of that.
Some people that I've spoken to, they've mentioned specifically, oh yeah, but you don't get the noise. And they're like, don't care. I don't really want the noise. I want to be able to sit in the car and actually be able to talk to the person and hear them properly.
Yeah, I've had 2 cars in which the noise mattered. I've had a Porsche 911 and I've also had a BMW M3.
The thing with that noise is it only mattered to you. Everyone else outside couldn't care less about your car making noise. In fact, they probably thought you're an idiot when you're revving it and stuff like that.
I probably listened to the noise of those vehicles twice with the windows down in the tunnel. And then most of the time I wanted to hear radio too. Yeah. So it was pretty much used. Yeah, it's rubbish. That old classic, you never turn the radio on in this car. Oh, off, you idiot. Of course.
Funniest comment I had with the Polestar was when I was leaving the racetrack, because I do racing, and I was leaving the racetrack at the weekend. I had the window down, chatted to the guy, and he goes, go on, rev it then. I'm like, yeah, knob. I thought about it for a second because I was about to hit the accelerator. I thought, no, actually, I can't rev this car. There's no engine in this. But I have found myself at the moment grabbing the invisible gear stick just from memory muscle.
But that's because you're, okay.
Yeah.
You've been driving a manual for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. But I've sort of, that goes pretty quickly, to be fair. I've only done it twice. And that's it. And then realizing, oh, actually, this is just the drive selector, not the gear stick anymore. Yeah. So you've got one here now. The robot's behind a bar that wants to pull your next pint.
Yeah, this was the interesting bit of technology that I spotted on the BBC News, which was, you get a vending machine for all sorts of things. You go to McDonald's now. The first place I go to order the food is at the electronic touchscreen machine, and I get table service. I like that at McDonald's. And this is going to be a machine that pulls a pint or mixes you a cocktail or whatever you want, and it's going to be arriving in certain pubs. It's already available on cruise ships and sort of more high-end places where you might want some entertainment.
I was about to say that the Harmony of the Seas, which is a cruise ship, that has a full bar that's just done by robots.
Yes, that actually has what you might see as like a car factory robot with fingers and clippers and stuff, making a cocktail. What I was looking at is more something that's like a vending machine. It's just going to pour a pint for you. And a lot of, these companies will say, well, this is what you want in a nightclub. And it does, because a nightclub's not a great environment for a member of staff. It's really noisy and their hearing gets damaged. It's not good for them. And what you probably want is people in the nightclub maybe keeping things cleaner. So you can still work there, but you do something else, make the environment a better place to be. And the machine does your drink, and it can do drinks 100 times faster than a bartender. I've no doubt this is going to happen. No doubt that this will go in. Wetherspoons have said they'll never do it, but that's not surprising because the average age of Wetherspoons clientele is probably 60 plus, and they're really pissed. So they've got no chance of operating the machine. I think that's probably more likely.
One of the things they need to do in nightclubs is just remove the DJ, and that would get rid of quite a lot of the problems. Because you don't need a DJ, because all they're doing in the end is just playing a mixture of MP3s that they downloaded off LimeWire decades ago. Other mixes that other people have made. But the biggest problem in a nightclub is the DJ, because the DJ is there every night playing the music super loud, and they're damaging their hearing over time. So they actually put the volume louder and louder and louder to counteract the damage, the hearing loss that they're getting without knowing it, and therefore then damaging the hearing of everyone else in there because they're putting the volume up louder. You get rid of the DJ, then you've got a standard volume level in there, and that protects everyone's hearing a bit better.
Thanks for that, Dad.
It's fine, but that's the truth.
Yeah, our kids don't care about that, do they?
They will when they're ringing in their ears.
Well, maybe.
Damage their ears, but there's literally no reason. There's no reason actually a DJ ever existed, to be fair, because computers have been able to do that since Winamp days.
Well, yeah.
And that's all a DJ does.
Some places do use a playlist, but others want a DJ because people like to see somebody up there and think they can get,
Well, that's where you just get a dumb robot, just pretending you're moving his arms like it's doing something.
Get this robot bartender to do it then, but exactly. I like it, and I expect to see. I think we'll start seeing these in airports and places like that. Right, these machines you go up to, and it'll just do your vodka or whatever, do your pint of cider, whatever you want. It'll just come out. It'll do 100+ drinks, and it's a vending machine.
Yeah, well, I mean, just use a vending machine for that to start off with.
What do you mean?
What was a robot give over that a vending machine can't do?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. It's a vending machine. I'm not really talking about the flash robot. I'm talking about the vending machine for drinks.
Yeah.
I think it makes logical sense. You go into a pub. Why would you have to wait? You have to wait at the bar. Why not just have 10 of these machines, and that's going to speed the whole thing right up?
Yeah, you'll just have 10 vending machines that just do draft beer as well. Wouldn't be hard to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what will happen, because pubs have got to reinvent themselves with things that are entertaining for their clients, because going there to buy alcohol is so expensive. You need something else to put your mind into it, because otherwise you just go down to Tesco and get it if you want it.
Question is, would it lower the price?
No chance. No, pubs aren't about drinking. If you want to go, in the old days, you go to the pub to get drunk at the end of the road, and it was cheap. Cheap, everything is dying out. Everything that's cheap is going. So it's an expensive game to go to the pub, but so therefore you're going to need to be entertained and gimmicked and all that kind of stuff. Hence these things, I reckon.
I don't go to the pub, so I'll take your word on that.
I don't either.
Does anyone?
But I do know, when I went to London with Kelly recently, the price of drinks in London made my jaw drop, James. It was ridiculous.
Well, that's London, though, isn't it?
It is London, but there's a lot of people live in London. Yeah, there's a lot of people there drinking in London.
Like we said, you've got to be crazy to live in London.
Yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't make any sense living in London to me at all.
Right.
Next update is a news item. Is actually a Google Workspace update, which I think is going to be quite cool. So it's a request a formal review for documents. This is doc sheets and slides. So if I've created a document, Carl, I can tag you into it.
Yes.
And if you're my line manager, I could say, can you review this for me and give it a formal review? And what it does, it locks the document, so I can't make any changes in the meantime. So it then goes to you. You can read through it, do what you want to do, and you can either approve it or reject it. If you approve the document, that's it. The document's like locked and it's sealed, and it's done. You can have more than one reviewer on the document as well. So as long as, say, there's 3 people that have to review the document before it can go off to a client, as long as all 3 of them approve it, then it'll be locked and it's ready to be sent. If one person rejects it, then the document doesn't get locked and it gets sent back to the person who requested it with whatever notes that the person's written in there, the reason why they rejected it, for them to make the changes and do that stuff again, before they send it off to approval again. And then once it's finally approved, it's locked again. And
who has to send the approval? Someone at the start?
Basically, you start creating a document or a sheet or a slide, and you can't send it until you've sent it off for so it's a workflow thing in there. So you can't hit the share button and send it externally or something like that until it's been approved by whoever you've listed as your line manager or whoever needs to approve the document.
That's it. That's okay. So that would probably have to be like a template. We'd have to have that preset.
Yeah, or in the admin settings.
Oh,
you can control it. Yeah. So if you go into admin settings, they're actually already there because we've had it for quite a while. The approval thing, it's just we've never actually used it because it's been in beta for like over a year.
So in the admin settings, we can say you can't share a document externally without approval.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get you.
And other things like that, and you've got to get it, or the document has to be approved before anything else can be done to it and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have your own internal policies that people have to follow and stuff like that as well. So say if you're an accountant and you're creating the end of year accounts for a client, but before you send it off to them, you have to send it to someone who's senior up in the firm just to check it over, and they approve it before it can be sent out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You've got the whole history of that approval process and what happened and what got changed as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for certain things, particularly people who are doing sales proposals and that kind of stuff.
Because it's been in beta for a long time. I'd spoken about it a long time, so I actually think it's this is one of the features that Airbus required, because that's when they started talking about it. Right. So when Airbus came on about 3 years ago, I think it is now.
Yeah.
When Airbus moved to Google Workspace, this is when the approval thing was first mentioned and stuff like that. And so I think it's Airbus has requested this feature. So I imagine they need a lot of approval on the work they're doing and documents before they can be sent out. And this is what that feature is. I suspect they've had it for 3 years, and it's only just coming out to everyone else now.
Yeah.
The other one is Meet in Editors. So this is Google Meet. So if you're in doc sheets and slides, shortly you'll be able to have the video call inside the doc sheets and slides down the right-hand side. So I put a nice GIF out about it on LinkedIn, and that's looking at a Google Sheet with some pie charts and stuff on there. And down the right-hand side, you can see all the people that are also in that document on a video call. So you are truly working together on that document, rather than at the moment where Google Meet is in its own window, and then you have to flick between the two. this is everyone's on screen. It means you have to use the present button either, because you're all in the document at the same time doing the video call, discussing
better.
it.
That's a lot better than presenting and doing it. A lot better.
Yeah. So they're all about to come out shortly. In fact, the formal review is out later this month, and the meeting editors, that's going to be probably not until Q1 next year, I think, in that we've now got beta access to it, Carl, on our domain.
James, if I click in, I'm in the podcast notes. If I can click on the button, it says bring the call here.
Yeah, weirdly, when I click on that button that I've had for a while, I just get a spinning circle, loading circle, and I can't actually do anything. So probably best not to try that while we're recording a live podcast.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. It's saying you can take an existing meeting and pull it into the document.
In fact, I need to contact Google support about mine, because mine's always just on the loading circle. It's never actually loaded properly, so I think there's a problem with my user account somewhere.
Yeah.
But that'll be. It's a shame that'll be a while, because I've been speaking about that for a long time, and during the pandemic, when it was proper lockdown, that would have been a really handy feature to have rushed out by then. But they've not even rushed it out, and it's still just only entering beta now.
Yeah.
However, I don't know what the pandemic is like in other countries. In the US, are they still? Do you know if in the US if they're still doing lockdowns and stuff like that, or are they doing like we are living with the pandemic?
They're pissing about arguing over vaccine status in the United States more than anything.
Yeah,
lockdowns in Europe, aren't they? Europe is really, Austria and places like that are in a right state at the moment. Yeah,
apparently they're having a resurgence, but I'm just not following it anymore.
It's unvaccinated people. It's all unvaccinated people again.
Well, as of yesterday, if you need to go for your booster, because they've opened up to anyone who's 40 and above now.
That's right.
For a booster shot. You booked in?
Not yet. I'm going to get it though.
Yeah, my mom says she's had hers. So I'll get it when it's open to people in their 30s and above.
Oh, still can't get it yet. Age 50 or over, it says on the website. Can't quite do it yet.
But yeah, so that would have been a handy feature in the height of the pandemic in the UK. May well be a handy feature for other countries at the moment that's still going through the pandemic.
Yep.
So Google Chrome, this is another one. Google Chrome will soon let you capture and edit screenshots. So this is actually a feature that's going to be built into Google Chrome. So you don't have to use Windows snipping tool or whatever the equivalent is on a Mac. You'll be able to, in your overflow menu in Google Chrome where the three dots are, there'll be an option for you to take a screenshot, and you can just take a screenshot either of a subsection of the page or the whole page. And I think you can even do scrolling screenshots on it of a website, and then you can edit it afterwards, and that'll just be saved as a PNG or JPEG on your machine that you can then share out with somebody.
Yeah,
which is so handy, especially because nearly everything that, especially for our clients, because we use modern technology, they're doing it all in the browser. They're not got anything locally installed. So, the amount of times people send us screenshots from Gmail where they've clearly had to do it using snipping tool and stuff like that. Now they can just do it so easily, just directly in Chrome. And it will also have a share option on there. So when you've done it, there'll be a share button there that you can click and then select how you want to send it.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. It's in Chrome, isn't it? Already, Chrome OS has a feature like this. So it's good that it's coming to the Chrome browser.
Yeah, this is actually a new feature. So this is even more, this is integrated into it, right down into the actual Chrome browser itself.
Yeah.
So Chrome OS is like a snipping tool inside it.
Yeah.
So it's a separate thing. I don't know if it'll be similar in Chrome OS, because that's a slightly different version of Chrome. But for Chrome for desktop and Android, then the screenshot tools will be built directly in.
Yeah, I was chatting with someone the other day, wanted to do it on a Mac, and there is a bit inbuilt one on a Mac, but it's a bit rubbish because like its default location to save the images of the desktop.
Yeah.
Why would you want that? You just want to put it on the clipboard and stuff. And Snagit is really the best tool that we use, but it's not free. So this will be handy for people.
Yeah, because Snagit has a nice thing where you can save it to the clipboard and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Snagit's the bomb. If you're doing a lot of snipping, you want to get that tool.
Yeah, exactly. Hence the reason we use it, because we do quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But if you infrequently, this is a good thing that Chrome's added.
And then your next story is 1 kilometer range Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I was looking at a technology and Wi-Fi. It was actually an Indian article from an Indian newspaper, but this is about Internet of Things, and it is a new version of a Wi-Fi standard that enables things to be like a kilometer away from the transmitter. And how they've done that is they're using long wave. So instead of the short wave, which would be up and down very quickly, that they're very long waves, and therefore they can travel further distance. Now, the compromise with long wave, if you wondered why I can't use your computer over it, is you can't transmit as much data over a long wave. However, Internet of Things don't need much data. They use very, very small amounts of data. And this means that we could now see vastly larger amounts of smart devices happening across all different segments of society by using this technology. And no doubt that's going to have its places in feedback from certain machines, feedback from doors that are opening and closing, all these different things that don't necessarily want to connect to something that's inside a building. Could be that they could be out in the street anywhere, lampposts, all these kind of things could be feeding back to a central transmitter.
Is this 1 kilometer range line of sight, or can it go through buildings, or is it a bit like 5G? It can't travel that far. Oh, it can travel, travel fast. I didn't
read the actual IEEE specification for it, but what I understood from the news article,
letting us down there, aren't you?
Hey,
you're letting us down there. You should be reading the IEEE specifications.
IEEE specification.
You might as well subscribe now. Carl's let us all down. Don't bother.
The answer is yes. It looks like it will go through stuff. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well,
I just thought it was interesting. Internet of Things comes and goes, people talking about it, but it's not going to go away. And this sort of thing is going to enable this technology to happen more, perhaps in the developing world, to use that expression, rather than some would say the developed world, whatever the correct terminology these days is. But, this was based out of India. And so these are the countries in the world that are growing and won't cut climate. I'm looking at you, India.
And so that's it then. That's the news for this week. And we're on to recommendations.
Yep.
Go on, you go for your first one. Some comedy.
A show called Motherland that started on the BBC and is now on Netflix, and it's pretty funny. It's about a bunch of middle-class parents in London and their tribulations around having children, and it's just kind of funny. It's obviously a comedy show, so it has some sort of ridiculous scenarios to it, but it also has some realistic stuff. If you've got kids that are primary school aged, quite a lot of this show will resonate with you in the mayhem of trying to live your life with primary school aged children, and it's pretty funny.
I've been watching another true crime on Netflix called The Unlikely Murderer.
Yep.
It's about the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme and a guy called Stig Unström, who was a graphic designer who originally was the police's prime witness of the crime, but he kept changing his story all the time. This assassination happened back in 1988, but for some reason the police never focused on him. Even though he was changing his story all the time. And it wasn't until 2020, based on a book that was written, which is what this series is about, that the chief prosecutor in Sweden actually said that they believe Stig Unström is now the prime suspect of actually committing the assassination.
Yeah.
However, they announced that on the 10th of June, and due to his old age, he actually died on the 26th of June, 2000. So they closed the case because their prime suspect is no longer around, so they can't take it to court or do anything about it now. But he's believed to be the prime suspect rather than the prime witness, in that he's the one who pulled the gun and shot the guy, but made everyone believe that he was a witness instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, really worth watching that one. It's in Swedish, so you've got the subtitles on, but it's a really good program. Really good. It's about, I think it's 6 episodes. It's one of those limited series, but definitely worth watching.
I'll have a look at that. I'm used to the subtitles. Actually, James, before we sign off, I know there's an article the other day on the BBC that said young people love subtitles. Like, they put it on all the time now. And we have it on all the time here. Kelly likes it. I like it too. Got used to subtitles after watching Narcos, basically. If you watch Narcos, you've got to have subtitles on because it's nearly all in Spanish. Yeah. And now young people love subtitles all the time. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
I like subtitles, especially on films, because you do get films where the audio is just not great.
Yeah.
Or there's like a lot of talking, or they say something really quickly. But also you find out more about the story, because the subtitles will also sometimes show what people around are saying and stuff like that. And then you get a bit more of the story that you can't actually hear on the audio very well, because it's muffled, because they're not meant to be the focus of the conversation and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a little bit in The Office, the American Office, and Kelly's watched that. I don't know how many times she knows it back to front. And Andy jumps into this bin when they're doing parkour, and you don't hear anything, but he actually says parkour when he's crumpled in the bin, and you won't see that without the subtitles. So yeah, get your subtitles on. I think it actually adds to the experience of watching programs.
Yeah, for sure.
It should certainly not put you off any foreign stuff because you just get into it dead quick. And you don't bother thinking about it.
With the foreign stuff, I sometimes put the dubbing on, but then I normally turn it off pretty quickly because it's just rubbish. The actors they use, especially on Netflix for dubbing, is just terrible.
Yeah, I tried to watch Squid Game in dubbing and turned it off and put Korean back on again. It was much better.
Yeah,
the accents were awful.
Yeah, and I put the subtitles on.
Yes.
Same way. But that's it. That's it for this fortnight.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back in a fortnight's time with the next episode 96.
96 on our way to we'll have to celebrate 100. You know, we have to work out when it's coming. It's coming near Christmas. That
it'll be after Christmas.
Be after Christmas, okay.
Yeah, it'll be after Christmas. But yeah, that's it, and we'll speak to you soon.
See you later.
Bye bye.